Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why another Warriors-Cavs finals is a lock.
And I'm Cowherd, and I'll tell you why last night won't be enough to stop LeBron from leaving Cleveland. On a Monday, Memorial Day, speak for yourself, starts right now. Got an all-star cast
Good disagreement today, because I disagree with that. Why leave Cleveland? All right, hello and welcome. Thanks for being with us on this Memorial Day. We're joined today by NBA champion Jason Terry and Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's start in Boston, where LeBron has done it again, willing the Cavs to a Game 7 win over the Celtics last night and earning his 8th straight finals appearance. Despite all the drama in Cleveland this year, despite the midseason roster shakeup, despite being on the road and not having Kevin Love last night, LeBron refused to be denied and after the game reflected on getting to yet another NBA Finals.
Haven't really processed the fact that, going back to another finals yet. I know that's where we're headed. I commend my teammates and my coaching staff, and everybody that put the work in. Even some of our staff that it's not in the limelight or work behind the scenes. This was a complete team effort.
You've seen LeBron do some unbelievable things, going 48 minutes tonight, doing what he did. Where does that stack up for you?
The best.
His best performance to you?
Yeah, I think so. He's had a lot of, gaudy games, but I just think, Game 7 in Boston, all the circumstances that surround Boston, the history behind Boston, playing a team that's very well coached, a good young team that's undefeated in the playoffs at home, and to come on a roll where, all the games have been lopsided. Both home teams have, pretty much been in great shape at home, and to come here in a hostile environment, Game 7, Eastern Conference Finals, this and Game 7 of the NBA Finals in 2016, right there.
Cowherd, did LeBron exceed expectations?
No, I just think the route was different. He ended the season with a team that's different than the team he started with. We forget Ty Lue left. He had a health scare. We've got new players. We've got Lakers over here, a Utah Jazz player here. It's just been a really different route, but we ended up back where we thought we would be. We knew Philadelphia was just still in the process. Once Gordon Hayward got hurt in Game 1, we didn't think they were a viable finals team. And the Raptors, LeBron's been in their head for years. So if I would have told you in October, hey, LeBron's going to win the East, nobody's surprised, but all these weird stories happened over the process, and it makes us think it's surprising.
In January, I bought a ticket, 700 to 1 or plus 700, for Cleveland to win the championship. So I don't think he's exceeded expectations. I think there's like this rush. Everybody feels like somehow LeBron's been denied some credit, and I don't think he's been denied any credit. And so I think people are going overboard. Jeff Van Gundy, I think last night, or Mark Jackson won. This is his greatest accomplishment. I was like, come on, man. Have y'all been watching this dude? That's silly. And then I think even, and Jason, you can speak to this, but what Dirk Nowitzki and y'all did, it tops this, blows it out of the water. Blows it out of the water.
Yeah. I reaped the benefits from what Dirk and I did, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is a hell of a feat. Because if you look how that roster was first built, then dismantled, then reconstructed again, it's not very good. Me, you, Chris, Colin, come on. We go out there with LeBron, I think we'd be on our way to the finals right now. But I'm just going to tell you, this year in the Eastern Conference, as a whole, we all thought this was optimal opportunity for us to advance and to knock Cleveland out because we knew free agency was pending.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah. Anybody. No, Milwaukee, Philly, somebody, Toronto, any of those teams. It was their time because look at the roster, how it's constructed. They're not very good. They had struggled all season. Their pending free agency of LeBron was looming. Ty Lue was out. They just looked like a team that was ready to be beat in the first round.
They were lost.
They were lost.
Lost at sea in February.
And so
I
thought
think
this was
where
opportunity.
he's exceeded expectations is individually. In his
For sure.
15th season,
For sure.
you can make a strong argument offensively, this is the best he's ever been. And then defensively, when he had to in the playoffs with the Celtics, there were games where he picked it up defensively and guarded the best player and played well. So on that level, he exceeded expectations. But I'm with you, Jason. Like, team-wise, I mean, I go back to 2007, bringing that team to the finals, beating the great Detroit Pistons team, beating a good New Jersey team with Jason Kidd and
The
Vince
East
Carter.
was better then, too.
The East was better. So that was beyond this. And then, of course, 2016, coming back from
Here's
down.
where he's exceeded.
Yeah.
There was always this sort of, and I love LeBron, but there was always this sort of, like, you know, he's the league's freight train. He's the league's Swiss Army knife, you know, but he's not that clutch. In the last 4 months, he's the league's most clutch player. KD's disappeared. Harden's had his, you know, moments. I think, like, this year is the year of LeBron being
A closer.
a closer.
See, I think that's been an unfair rap on him. I mean, that has been his reputation. He's not clutch. To this day, everybody will say Kobe Bryant is more clutch. Kobe Bryant's hit one buzzer-beating game winner in his whole playoff career. LeBron's hit 5. He's got more than Jordan and Kobe combined. And he had 3 coming into this playoff. So even then, he was tied with Jordan. So that whole narrative was strong, but it was wrong. And now I think the ship has been righted on that thought.
I like your point about individually, he's exceeded expectations, and this is where he's exceeded expectations for me. When you're born with all the physical gifts, you're not required to play as smart as everybody else because you're just
Or as
better.
hard.
You're just better. And so, like, Larry Bird, I thought justifiably had the reputation as the smartest or maybe one of the smartest players to ever play. LeBron, to me, is challenging that. LeBron's a scientist right now, and I watch him play, and it's not just his physical gifts, it's his intellectual gifts on the basketball court that are separating him. That's where he's exceeded expectations. He's right there with Larry Bird to me as just playing the game between his ears.
Hey, you went Larry Bird. You didn't even say Magic Johnson. I keep telling people, LeBron, change the 23 to 32. That's the guy he reminds me most of. Because IQ-wise, there's been no question about he is the smartest player on the court every time he steps on the court. That's just the way he plays the game, and it's natural to him. That was a gift, something he's been born with. And I think exceeding expectations, we'll go back to that. I think down 3-1, coming back in the finals. That was the peak to me.
Totally.
He led in every statistical category, and we thought they were dead in the water.
All right, well, we don't even know who LeBron's next opponent will be yet, but last night's win over Boston has prompted a fresh round of speculation about whether or not this finals appearance will be enough to keep LeBron in Cleveland when all is said and done this year. Whitlock, are you starting to think, whoa, finals again, LeBron staying in Cleveland?
Why leave? Dan Gilbert dances to the beat of your drum. Even though they don't like each other, Dan Gilbert does what LeBron once done. He's the East. He's so dominant in the East. Why risk coming out here to L.A. and having to tangle with Houston or Golden State or whatever happens in San Antonio with Kawhi Leonard? Why risk that? And if you're going to stay in the East, I wouldn't go run and go play with Embiid and Ben Simmons. I just don't. Him and Simmons both need the ball in their hand. Stay in Cleveland and try to attract another quality player there. I just don't think it's ridiculous to think Paul George could end up in Cleveland with LeBron. And I know that sounds, like a fantasy or whatever, but if I'm LeBron, I stay in Cleveland.
Listen, LeBron had a quote last night where he said, I told my teammates, I told the coaches, when we put this together, let's just squeeze every last thing out of this roster. Well, when you do that with an orange, you discard it. When you do it with toothpaste, you discard it. Yeah. He keeps saying, I just told everybody, let's just squeeze every last thing. Well, whatever you're squeezing like that, that's generally the end of it. And I look at these contracts for the next 2 years. You can't get out of these Jordan Clarkson deals and George Hill deals and Tristan Thompson deals. LeBron doesn't want to be trapped.
It all depends on what his motivation is. If he wants to win, now he has said a couple years ago, I'm chasing the ghost in Chicago, Michael Jordan. If that's his mentality, I got to be the GOAT, and I know the only thing I can do is win more championships to do that, then you have to leave. They're not getting Paul George. They can't. They don't have the money as a free agent, and then they don't have the trade bait to get a guy like that. So I don't think they can make drastic improvements to this roster. So I think you have to go to Philly. I'm with you. Stay out of the West. Don't go to the Lakers. Go to Philadelphia. See if you can win championships with that team. If he wants to just live in L.A. and it's about lifestyle and being a business mogul and, we'll be good, we'll have a shot to win, maybe go to the Lakers. But if you want to win, he's got to go to Philly.
But what if it's about legacy? Then isn't his legacy cemented because he's been able to take less and take it up to the
I think
top
it's
with
cemented
greatness?
as the second best player of all time.
I mean, if you want
But
to
it's
be
not
the
cemented
number
as the GOAT.
one, the only way to – it's almost like Montana Brady. Until 2 years ago, it was Montana because he was 4 for 4. And then Brady got to his 7th Super Bowl, and then his 8th, and we're like, okay, you don't have to be perfect anymore. Right. LeBron's way to pass Michael is third team, go to 4 finals, win 3, and at some point it's a volume argument. And you're like, well,
but
individually.
Third team, if it's with Houston and Chris Paul and James Harden, I mean, are we going to really say he's the GOAT?
I wouldn't do that because they're too close.
Philadelphia.
I think Houston's too close now. Obviously, you don't go to Golden State. It's either the Lakers, who you probably won't even get to the finals if you go to the Lakers. That's why, to me, it's Philadelphia. It's a no-brainer.
Why not stay where everything is your way?
But
Hey,
what
we
if
want to
you-
overpay Tristan Thompson, Dan Gilbert to do it. That seems to be what makes LeBron happiest, having things his way.
But
if he
If
left
they
Miami,
if they stay as they are, let's say they get whoever they get with the number 8 pick. I would put Boston ahead of them next year.
Oh, yeah.
Philadelphia ahead of them.
Yep.
With Budenholzer, Milwaukee could be ahead of him. Like, they could be the 4th best team legitimately, not just record-wise, legitimately in the East.
So you're saying not just go to Philly, but, go to Milwaukee.
No, but
Why not take your talents abroad?
I mean, they're
to
they're,
Canada.
you know,
I mean, they
here's
got
the other-
2 good pieces.
Let's not underplay this. LeBron, listen, man, when people leave companies,
Yes.
one of the primary factors is I don't trust my boss, I don't trust the owner. There's a piece of video last night. Did you see this thing, man? He gives Dan Gilbert, he gives him a low handshake. Look at that. That's the guy that brought you back. Those two do not get along. They work. I don't think Dan Gilbert, I know this. Dan Gilbert thinks LeBron is needy. And LeBron thinks Dan Gilbert doesn't appreciate him.
Well, who
you
wrote
watch
the letter?
that kind of video?
Who wrote the letter?
Dan Gilbert.
Well, in the back of my mind, I'm still looking at you like, we work together. Man. I don't forget that letter.
I think one thing that could complicate it, now this is just my speculation just from talking to people. I haven't been told this for a fact. I think they have a handshake agreement, or wink wink, that LeBron's going to buy the team from Dan Gilbert.
Oh.
So I don't know how leaving the team impacts that, but I know LeBron wants to own a team. He's from Northeast Ohio. You would think it'd be the Cavs. So,
I don't care that they don't like each other.
Right.
If I'm LeBron James and the guy does what I want done, why go anyplace else?
even if you think you can't win, though, going in the future?
If I'm LeBron James, I never think I can't win. I've overcome too much. And I know Dan Gilbert's been over the luxury tax. He spent more money. He'll do it again. They just made it to the finals. In order to keep this run together, he'll spend whatever it takes to get him the piece so he can be competitive with Boston next year. If I'm LeBron, I just don't. The grass ain't greener every place, Philadelphia.
Pretty green in Philadelphia, though. Pretty good grass.
You got grass.
Chris Broussard, Jason Terry are back. Let's move now to Houston. Can't wait. Rockets host the Warriors in a few hours. Trip to the finals on the line. After a hot start in Game 6, the Chris Paul-less Rockets scored just 25 points in the second half. I mean, that's just hard to stomach. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry caught fire. Golden State wins by 29. Whitlock, Paul's a game-time decision for tonight. Doubtful, they say. Do you expect another Warriors blowout?
Yeah, I think if Chris Paul is 1,000% healthy and plays 48 minutes, Golden State's going to blow him out. I say that having zeroed in on this playoff series. I don't like James Harden. I don't like nothing about his whole MVP thing. Looks like a sham to me. It looks like a sham.
Right.
In comparison to LeBron, I've been watching this. I just don't like it. That one-on-one isolation ball, I just don't think it really works at crunch time. I expect him to have another bad game. He's just launching up a bunch of threes. His shooting's off. They get blown out again tonight. Kevin Durant don't even have to play that well. He hasn't played that well in this series. Golden State's taking care of business tonight. That's my take.
The one thing I would say, that was easily, the last game was easily Golden State's best shooting performance. Simultaneously, Clay and Steph caught fire. Nobody beat. They're not going to shoot like that again. That's
Durant didn't play well.
They're
well,
just
it's,
heating up.
by the way,
those two
Capella can play, Eric Gordon can play,
Capella
Harden's going
can't
to
play
win,
in this series. He's not very
Trevor
good in this series.
Ariza can play. Houston's got a composition of good players. They're at home. D'Antoni's had a good series. Teams that are humiliated generally come back and play really
Not
hard.
tonight.
I'm a Golden State fan. I like them, but I am hoping desperately that Houston wins because I think that'll be the most competitive finals. I think Cleveland would actually, I'd favor Houston, but Cleveland will have a shot against the Rockets, especially if Chris Paul's out. Golden State, I think, would rout Cleveland. But tonight, Golden State, to me, their issue has been half the time they're playing ISO through Kevin Durant. The other half the time they're being themselves, which is free-flowing, pass-happy offense. That's when Steph and Clay and Durant can still get his. If they play their game, they win going away. If they fall into the ISO trap, as good as Kevin Durant is, that's when I think it could be a game and they could lose.
No doubt about it. First, let me address the James Harden situation because that is cold. You just shot my man. But statistically, over the last 4 years, put his numbers up with LeBron, and he is right there, if not better.
Regular season. If we not can see, LeBron goes to a whole different level postseason.
LeBron's a better player.
Well, I mean, but the
Better
gap
player, yes.
is so far that when I watch James Harden, I'm like, this is the MVP? It just doesn't compute because those threes that he's launching are just not hitting.
You don't like the step back?
He doesn't get other people involved. I
think what Jason's
He's
saying is
averaging
LeBron's
9 assists a game.
Yeah, but LeBron's influence. Here's the one thing: when LeBron's on the floor, you know it. I mean, it's just like, oh, LeBron's on the floor. When he's off, you notice it. There are times when Chris Paul and Harden were on the floor together. Harden's over in the corner, like.
Yeah, but see, listen, go watch LeBron also. He takes as many dribbles, if not more, as Harden.
They lead to something.
And at times, LeBron, like especially when
Either
they
a
had,
shot for him or his teammates. Same thing with Harden.
when they had Kyrie, when Kyrie was doing his thing, LeBron would be out by the wing, kind of standing there, doing like this. He wasn't getting involved either. I think you guys are being too hard on Harden.
Too hard on
He has
Harden.
got, look, let's keep it in perspective. LeBron went through the East. A young Boston team.
He cut through butter.
Exactly. Harden has had this in the West, and you are in a game 7 with what a team some people think is the best ever. I mean, how we ripping this guy up?
Okay, let's stay away from ripping him up. Okay. I agree with you. If Golden State plays through Steph, plays the Steph way, rather than it won't be close.
But just because they got more talent, I mean, Harden's going to war with. I mean, Eric Gordon is a really good player. No
Absolutely.
doubt. But if Chris Paul is out, he's just outmanned. And if he can even make it close, that's
Let me just throw a graph up. This is another thing. Andre Iguodala has been out. What it's done, it's forced all the starters to play not just 2 or 3 more minutes. Curry's playing 8 more minutes since that game. Draymond, 8 more minutes. Durant, 5 more minutes. Klay Thompson, 7. Is there a possibility second half tonight, these Warriors who coast through every series run out of gas?
I don't think they get tired. I think their IQ drops more than fatigue happens.
Well, what you fail to realize, this is game 7. LeBron just played 48 minutes. So you can't tell me those 4 guys aren't going to be out there 45 to 48 minutes tonight. This is whatever you have in the tank, and it does not matter. I've been in game 7s. You're going to play your best 5 players. And quite frankly, go look at the back end of Golden State. They look like the back end of Cleveland. They just don't have a good bench.
Give me this, though, Jason. Give me this, though, because I'm sure you've seen it. And I think you're one of these guys. There are certain guys, when Iguodala's off the court, I just don't think Golden State is as smart. They don't play as intelligently as when he is on the court. I think their IQ backs off a little bit.
I think they go to Durant a little bit more. They feature him in different situations, either posting up or ISO situations. As when Iguodala's on the floor, he's another facilitator. So that allows Draymond to go do a screening action with KD, or Clay and Steph to do screening action with KD, another ball handler. But when he's not on the floor, now KD feels like, okay, it's my time. I can handle the ball too. And that's where he sometimes he overuses it. But don't even get confused. The first 2 games of this series, Kevin Durant averaged over 30 points a game and shot very efficiently from the field. So don't over mistake his isolation situation like, oh, he's doing it too much. They need him to be 1A or 1B because he's that good.
All right, welcome back. We're joined now by Super Bowl champ Greg Jennings and the founder of the Big League, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the NFL, which last week announced a major change to their national anthem policy, but the controversy is still far from over. Former 49ers safety Eric Reid has joined Colin Kaepernick in filing a collusion claim against the league, with both men still unemployed in the wake of their protest. Now one of Kaepernick's confidants, activist Sean King, says there could be serious repercussions for the league, tweeting, quote, breaking, several star NFL players have told me they are considering sitting out the season until the de facto ban of Eric Reid and Colin Kaepernick is removed and both men are given spots back on rosters. They aim to get 25% of the players to sit out with them. All right, Cowherd, are you buying this could actually happen?
No. Is Aaron Rodgers like star players? There's 20 in the league, 30? I don't know. I mean, if the 17th best cornerback in the league says, I'm out, all right, who's next? I mean, we have a draft of 7 rounds. NBA's got a draft of 2 rounds. By the 15th pick, you're out of players. Half this league is undrafted players. Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, next man up. There's a world of football talent out there.
It does depend on your definition of stars. And so, in his mind, Michael Bennett may be a star, but I really don't see him sitting out the season on a Super Bowl championship team in Philadelphia. What I do think is a possibility is some guys sitting out training camp. And again, it won't be Aaron Rodgers, it won't be Tom Brady, unless Brady's still upset about Malcolm Butler. But again, could I see some guys sitting out the start of training camp looking for an excuse and wrapping their sitting out of training camp in, we're doing this, for social justice, rather than, hey, I really don't want to be in training camp? I could see that happening.
Absolutely not. Colin, I'm with you. And I've been in this league for years, and understanding reasons why guys sit out for contract reasons, trying to get an extension or get a better deal. And it's still hard for guys to sit out of training camp because they're looking at that dollar amount that they're going to be getting retracted from their pocket, missing training camp. Talking north of 30,000 plus, almost, I want to say it's $40,000 fine per day when you miss training camp. Guys aren't willing to do that. And so I get it. It would be a huge stance that somebody would make. It would have to be an Aaron Rodgers type player, a Von Miller type player, some player that is the elite of the elite. But again, these guys in this league, they're about their dollars. And the league is about their dollars. This is why they made the ruling, because they are concerned about their viewerships, all these other things, all these other ways that will help them generate revenue. So I just don't see players giving up their money to sit out. No. Just make your protests some other way, but don't forfeit your money.
Don't punish your family.
Absolutely not.
How long have these guys been working, Greg? You started playing football, 8, 10 years old? You put like 10 hard years in, high school, college, and now all of a sudden you're going to up and walk away from that? I think this is lunacy. It's almost like, and we've talked about this, Whitlock, like there's 2 different worlds out there, reality and then social media. Because people are giving this credence. And for him to say 25% of players, I mean, I would be shocked if 25 players out of over 1,600, sat out. Now, I did look this up, Colin, because you asked about the college football players, how many get to the NFL. So according to one stat, 1 in 50 college seniors makes the NFL. 1 in 50. You get like a golden opportunity like that, you're going to walk away from it because Eric Reid can't get signed to a team.
And it's also a sport that has regulated violence where careers are shorter. So, and the other thing is, I can remember in this league for years, there was always a sense that the player rep, like players rep Kevin Mawai, you get cut first. Like you have an injury.
Yep.
This league has a history. It's like run by owners and general managers, and they don't forget. And you hold out and do that, even if it's not effective, they're like, this guy's trouble.
Nor should they hold back. And I think that's part of the reason why we have a problem is because we're trying to play nice rather than conduct business and do what's actually in the best interest of the 1,600 players in the NFL. And this is what people just have completely screwed up. NFL ownership is fine with what these players are protesting and what they believe in. They want, hey, let's all make this money. We're going to pay you. Take the money and spend it however you want on whatever social causes you want. But don't interfere with all of us, the 1,600 players, the 32 owners, the coaches, everybody. Don't interfere with us making money because that's what we're here for. And so and Jason, you made the point about the alternate universe, social media versus the real world. And that's what scares me and thinks that a handful of players may sit out training camp. They're so caught up by social media. All of their actions are dictated. Will I get retweeted? Will I be liked? Will people think I'm black? It's all driven by social media. It's a trap. And I wish that Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed could understand they walked into a trap and have blown up their careers over something that sparked a conversation about the national anthem and has led to no legislation, no movement, no progress. It's created a huge divisive issue that's put a stain on NFL players. And so it's like an emotional thing that's very popular over social media, but it's not the right thing to do. And I don't blame the owners. I wish they'd play a little bit harder with these guys. It's a time for tough love right now.
I wouldn't say that. I agree with you. I wouldn't say that Colin Kaepernick walked into a trap. I would say that this social media platform that it provides for everyone, it's luring guys because of they're seeing the likes and the follows and all of these things. But what I would sound the alarm on is this. Are those people who are following you now, who are saying, great job, way to stand up for what you believe, when you are not getting paid for being there in training camp, are they putting up a GoFund for you? Are they doing that?
We've seen politicians' careers end on social media. We've seen actors' careers end. We've seen media people's careers implode. Eric Reed and Kaepernick, couldn't I argue? These are professional athletes giving away collectively $10 million. This stuff on social media, when it sucks you in, I've seen it in multiple businesses. Bye-bye commerce. And that's what it does. Elsewhere in the NFL, former defensive end Cliff Averill just offered some insight into the collapse of the Legion of Boom in Seattle, opening up about how the players' view of Pete Carroll changed after the Seahawks lost to the Patriots back in Super Bowl 49.
You think about what could have happened. If we win that Super Bowl, I think we probably would have won another one within the 2 years that went by. But I do think that, the team would have bought in more into what Coach Carroll was saying instead of, going the opposite way of, hey, this is what we thought the foundation of the team was, and that's not what happened in that particular play. So I think guys started kind of questioning him a little more so than actually following his lead if we would have won that Super Bowl.
Now, we all remember how Malcolm Butler sealed that win for the Patriots, and now it looks like Bill Belichick's decision to bench Butler in this year's Super Bowl could have similar consequences. Tom Brady's already blown off Belichick's off-season program, choosing to work out on a yacht in Monaco instead of with the Patriots in Foxborough. Whitlock, you think the Patriots will tune out Bill Belichick this season?
It's already happening. It's already happening. And this is what I've been talking about. I thought Cliff Averill said the key words there, the foundation we were built on. I thought, they had an understanding of what the foundation was in Seattle.
Defense and running.
Yeah. And so it's do your job, and I'll never do anything that jeopardizes the whole team for some individual thing. And Bill Belichick just did that in the Super Bowl. And who knows if Malcolm Butler would have fixed last year's Super Bowl. But give him a couple of plays to try. And so you have Tom Brady and other players on that team. Bill Belichick just will not sound the same unless he mans up and apologizes and explains this decision. people will start tuning him out.
I disagree. I think I think Cliff Avrill's complaints about Pete Carroll are separate than Bill Belichick. I think Pete Carroll at USC and Seattle, it's the exact same thing. 2 new young offensive coaches moved into the Pac-12, Chip Kelly, Harbaugh, implosion. 2 new really smart offensive coaches, Kyle Shanahan, McVay, moved into the NFC West, not the same. I think Belichick's the gold standard. I think Pete Carroll's a really good coach. I think Belichick, like a Coach K, a Phil Jackson, will be able to stand this challenge. He's the gold standard. He's the all-time greatest. I think Pete Carroll's a really, really good football coach. And rah-rah, loosey-goosey, go into politics, player empowerment. I think it's different. I saw USC fall off. I think Seattle's fallen off. That's a Pete issue, not a Bill issue.
I think it's already happening, but I don't think that the current players on the Patriots roster outside of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski will tune Belichick out. Why? Because he will release you. He will cut you. He will sever ties with you before you have an opportunity to become disgruntled and disruptive in that environment. Bottom line, when you look at the Legion of Boom, they were on the defensive side of the ball. Where's Bill Belichick? On the defensive side of the ball. You have a lot of personalities that are strong personalities on that side of the ball. That you had the Bennetts, you had Shermans, you had Cliff, Averill. You have all these guys who feel like they have an entitlement of an opinion to where, look, we've done this for you. Not the other way around, you've done this for us. When you look at the Patriots roster, they don't have guys like that. They only have Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, and that's on the offense.
They're not on board.
And they're not on board, but they're not coming out saying what the Cassius Marshes are saying, Nate Solders, Danny Amendola. So there is this disgruntled or this feeling of, this isn't fun. We're not all bought in, but they're out. They're gone. You don't have the current guys in that locker room saying it outside of those 2 main guys.
Yeah, I would largely agree with what you're saying. It's almost like Vince Wilfork, Jamie Collins, Richard Seymour, on down the line. It's a turnstile. He doesn't care. As you said, they were very loosey-goosey in Seattle. Belichick's the opposite. He's militant. If you don't listen to me, bye.
Yes.
I don't want to pay you, bye. It doesn't matter if you're Randy Moss or whatever end of the spectrum. The guy who overslept his alarm clock. Remember that? He rushed for like 200 yards on Sunday Night Football, and his alarm clock forgets to go off. He was late for practice. Never played another down again with the Patriots. I mean, that's how Belichick operates. You said Gronkowski, guys? I think Brady's the only untouchable guy on that roster. I wouldn't be shocked if he moved on from Gronk.
Totally agree with that. Yeah. I think Gronk can be moved in. I mean, seriously, if Gronk sat out a preseason,
he could, but when you see what he has done, the things that he's been able to get away with, other players would not have been able to get away with these things.
Listen, in a locker room, Greg and Colin, everybody, but who do you think has more, and I know Bill Belichick has more power, but who has more influence? Brady or Belichick?
Brady.
In that locker room? Brady does. So if he sets the tone of, I'm not as into Belichick as I used to be, you're telling me the rest of those players are going to be, well, I'm not as into Belichick as I used to be.
Here's the thing, though. Brady, although he does have the most influence in the voice, but if you and I are not Tom, we're not going to do it. We want him to do it. We want him to advocate for us, but we don't have that power or that status to where if Tom's not doing it, because I'm not Tom.
I also think, Greg, in the end, Tom is so aspirational, so driven. Is he going to sabotage this season?
No.
He's still into winning. Dude watches tape with a supermodel wife all day.
No. He's going to be Tom Brady. He's just going to be more Alex Guerrero Tom Brady than Bill Belichick Tom Brady. He's going to do it his way.
I think that's a valid statement. He's definitely in the mindset of, I'm going to do it my way now. Yes. I've done it your way for years.
Frank Sinatra.
But now I'm doing it my way, bottom line. And I honestly, I love it because at some point in your career, you have to become selfish, especially when you know you're on your way out. You have to become selfish. When you feel like something was taken away from you and it wasn't just the other team that did it.
I totally get that. That's where I support a player. If I've given my everything to you, no, I get that. Listen, I've been wrong on this story. This is 3 months of wrong for me. I'm still not moving off my position.
That's why I keep putting it in the show every day.
Welcome back, Jason Terry, Chris Broussarder here. Let's return to Boston. Celtics couldn't close out LeBron last night. Ice cold down the stretch in a tight Game 7. The clutch gene, wasn't the only thing missing for Boston last night. Kyrie Irving, not in the building, which Danny Ainge explained today was due to a minor nasal surgery. Kyrie's absence got Mark Jackson pretty worked up during the game.
He is so valuable to this franchise. You never know what he sees that a coach does not see. If he's just at home chilling or somewhere where it's not important, to me, that's a problem. I'd much rather have the great Kyrie Irving in the building. This is Game 7, Mike.
All right, Whitlock, bad look for Kyrie.
It's not the greatest look. It's hard for me to beat him up. He had a medical procedure, but it's not the greatest look when you left Cleveland, kind of by design, and this is the ultimate. The team you once played for is playing in Game 7. The team you do play for is playing in Game 7. I kind of agree with Mark. He should have been there. He should have scheduled his surgery at a different time, I think, but it's hard for me to beat him up too bad.
It looked like Kyrie didn't want to be in the photo op. LeBron holding the trophy, Kyrie hurt again, dressed in street clothes. On the same night, LeBron beats his team because Kyrie's not available.
You got to think they're going to win, though. They win everything at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think you had to, if you're the Celtics, you had to go into that thinking you had as good a chance to win as Cleveland did. So look, like you said, without all the details, it's hard to beat him up. But I am thinking, why didn't you have the surgery at a different time?
Right.
Okay, maybe his face, maybe black eyes, he didn't want to be out on the court. But you still maybe could have been in the arena. You watch the game from the back, so you see your teammates at halftime or before the game maybe. I mean, again, I don't know all the details, but it's a bad look, just to.
I mean, honestly, if he had nasal surgery, if I've had it, you're definitely not in the public eye. You're at home resting, ice packs.
How long does it?
Everything. It takes about 2 days for the swelling to go down and for your equilibrium to come back. So I just don't believe if he has surgery, he's definitely not going to be present. And I honestly believe that was the case.
Pre-LeBron, isn't it fair to say, before LeBron arrived in Cleveland, this is what the book was on Kyrie? Hurt a lot, not a great teammate, kind of into Kyrie. Some of this stuff plays into that brand a little.
I think...
Because he was hurt, not there for his teammates.
I think he's odd. He thinks the earth is flat, and he's not afraid to say it. And so he's a little bit odd, and this is a little bit odd. I don't think it's something I'm gonna write him off about, and I'm not gonna go Westbrook on him the way you go Westbrook.
No.
But it is odd. I mean, your team, you have a chance to be in the building when it would have been the ultimate embarrassment for LeBron James for this injury-riddled Boston team to take them out in Game 7, and you're not there, and you've had surgery over Memorial Day weekend. It just doesn't. It's odd, but it's hard for me to kill it.
Well, his agent said he couldn't fly, so he must have had the surgery somewhere other than Boston. So I get it if it's that tough of a surgery, why you're not there. I do wonder why not schedule it at a different time, where maybe you can be there whenever they keep playing. But I think there's a question, too. We've talked about it last week. How does Kyrie feel about the team being so successful without him? Because next year you go back, I've said it, in my opinion, it's not Kyrie's team anymore. It's Brad Stevens' team. And Kyrie goes in there next year. He averaged 24 this year. He was definitely the man. He can shoot whenever he wants. Now I think you step in. He's going to be the star, but you're going to be one of a few stars now, and you'll be playing more of a role than just I shoot it whenever I want.
The hardest thing for a young superstar to do in this league is to sit back on the sidelines, not in uniform, and watch your team have success without you. And we're not just talking about regular season success. We're talking about these guys going to the Eastern Conference Finals, taking them to a Game 7, one game away from the NBA Finals. That's very hard to swallow. Not saying this man's ego can't take it, but I know deep down inside of him, he wanted to be out there with his team. They had success without him, and now you're starting to hear things like, is he going to be here? Is Hayward going to be here? And not to mention, young fella Rozier was having a hell of a postseason without him.
Here's the thing to keep an eye on with Kyrie. he has 1 year left on this deal, so he'll be a free agent next summer. He can be a free agent next summer. Boston was not on his team, his list of 4 desirable destinations. It was San Antonio, Miami, New York, and Minnesota. So I think the Celtics need to sit down with Kyrie now and say, look, do you want to be here long term? We want you. We want to build around you, but do you want to be here long term? And if he can't commit, they might have to move him rather than risk losing him for nothing.
And by the way, I think that I buy this. Bottom line is, he played 8 games at Duke, Jason. His whole career has been marred by injuries.
No doubt.
Guys that get hurt don't get healthier at 30.
To me, what Chris just said and what you just tossed on top of that is, if I'm Boston and there's a player I'm thinking about moving this offseason, it would be Kyrie.
I agree.
Even if he commits to staying, though? If he's verbal?
Injury prone, you just went this far without him, you may be able to get something else, another piece. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to the Indy 500, where Danica Patrick crashed out of her final race, bringing to an end a career that might have been short on wins, but broke new ground for women in sports. Cowherd, what will Danica's legacy be?
Well, she was the best and most famous women's driver auto racing ever. I mean, she was, for about a decade, she was in the hottest commercial in the Super Bowl. She was now again, not Serena Great, or maybe didn't have the accolades of other female stars, but she was a celebrity.
It's going to be interesting what happens to her celebrity now. She dating Aaron Rodgers, maybe reality TV's in her future. Huge impact on racing. All right, to Boston, where we saw some spectacular moments last night with everybody losing their minds over this LeBron hack on Terry Rozier. I thought this Jason Tatum dunk right in LeBron's face was way better. Cowherd, which of these was more impressive?
Jason Tatum, you show your grandkids that in 30 years. Not many guys dunked on Michael, Kobe, or LeBron. That was amazing. That's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight.